Hi, I'm Mike, and today I get a chance to do something I've wanted to do for a long time. Take you for a tour of the ranch on Our Wyoming Life. If you've been watching us for a while, you've been all over the ranch, from the barn to the chicken house to the greenhouse. And if this is your first time watching, you're going to get a little bit of an advantage, I think. Because I can tell you, when I first came to the ranch, I was lost as could be. Of course, back then there was just a barn and a shop and the cows. When we first came here, there was only a couple of rental houses on the ranch. No one was responsible for the day-to-day operation that actually lived here. Someone had to come out every day, check the cows, feed, and do whatever else might need done. With the coming of Erin and I, all that changed. We decided to live on the ranch. The rental house, the trailer, became our home. And eventually, as our family grew, we had the opportunity to build our own house just across the way. It's a modular. So technically we didn't build anything, but a big crane did come in and drop it in place. And then we moved in. So we begin the tour at our house, only a few feet away from the shop, where most everything starts and stops on the ranch. My day tends to start there and end there. It's a good place to gather your thoughts for the day and come up with a plan of attack. Attached to the shop is what we call the sales barn. Back in the day, and I'm talking like 30 years ago, they used to have cattle sales in this barn. It was full of bleachers, and people would sit and watch as cows and bulls were brought up, showed, and sold. Now, the sales barn is pretty much just vehicle storage. The tractors live in here, four-wheelers, and sometimes even the bobcat. It's also used to store feed, and during hunting season, it's used as an area for hunters to gather and process their game. On the back side of the sales barn is the actual barn. Right now, the bottle calves are living here, but during calving, we have cows and calves in each one of these corrals, some waiting to give birth, and some bonding after birth. Outside the barn leads you into our corral system. What can look like just a bunch of fences and corrals is actually a well thought out and designed tool to help us sort and work with cattle. I rebuilt our corral system in 2012 with the help of the University of Saskatchewan, who designed this system. And I have to say, it works really well. Larger corrals lead to alleys for sorting, and then into smaller corrals, which then in turn lead to tubs to move cows, bulls, or calves into the squeeze chutes or onto waiting trailers. A good corral system is invaluable, and with this system, I can sort, load, or work on cattle all by myself, although having an extra few people is always an added bonus. As we move out of the corrals, we head towards a pretty innocent looking shed. But if you listen, you can hear the squeals and oinks of little pigs. This is where they live, at least as long as it doesn't get too cold. Outside pigs are easier to manage, and they seem happier. But if the weather gets too cold for them, then we move them into a corral in the barn where we can control the environment just a little bit better. Moving them is a giant pain, and I'm sure at some point you'll see me chasing a pig around. Hopefully not today. This shed, once the pigs move out, will become a place to get more vehicles in and out of the weather during the winter. The fire truck, and usually the smaller international tractor, will fit right in here. Turning our heads to the right and a little bit behind us, next to the corrals, is the chicken house. This chicken house was also built by me after we moved out here. Erin wanted chickens. And although there was an old chicken house, which has since been torn down, we decided to build a new one. Mostly because the old one was ready to come down anyway. So we built this new chicken house, which some of the neighbors still call the Chicken Taj Mahal. It works great, except one day I came out and it was on fire. It was early spring and one of the chickens had knocked down a heating light bulb that we used to keep it a little warmer in there. One light bulb sat against the wood until it burst into flames. Luckily, we didn't lose the chicken house and the fire was under control before too long, and we were able to replace any burnt or charred wood, and the chickens had their old digs back, although it did smell a little like roasted chicken for a while. Not so far from the chicken house is the beginning of Erin's gardening empire. Her 3 gardens collectively make up about 1/4 of an acre, or 11,000 square feet of veggie goodness. We keep track of them by name. This is the small garden, where Erin is growing pumpkins, cauliflower, and some corn. And this is the big garden, where Erin is out harvesting now. In here we see too many veggies to name. From fennel to kohlrabi, you can find it here. And Erin looks like she's headed to harvest lettuce. Say hi, Erin. Or just wave, that works too. On the other side of the big garden is the high tunnel, which houses tomatoes, peppers, and used to have all the cucumbers in there before Erin got annoyed and pulled them all out. This fall we'll be building a new high tunnel right next to this one, and we received a grant to pay for it, and we should have the new one up and going by spring. This tunnel would become our winter growing tunnel, where Erin will raise crops all winter long, including lettuce, spinach, and carrots. You may have noticed a 2-lane highway running right by the ranch. And in fact, it actually runs through the ranch. We have land on the other side of the road where our bulls live during the winter. The horse pasture is over there, along with our dump and a heifer barn and calving areas. So with the buildings, gardens, chicken houses, pig pens all underneath our belt, it's time we talk about what makes a ranch. And that's land. And out here, we have plenty of it. In fact, I did some math. If the ranch had the same population density as Manhattan, there would be almost 500,000 people living on the ranch. There's 5 of us. In fact, if you flipped it the other way and took our population density and applied it to Manhattan, there would be 14 people in Manhattan. It'd probably make it a lot easier to get a cab. Just like the corrals, the smaller pastures are closer to the main part of the ranch. Behind the corrals is a 3-acre pasture we call the lot. It can be used to hold cows before sorting or to hold cows that are close to calving that need a close eye kept on them. Beyond that is the triangle pasture, 7 acres used mainly for the same reason, but giving the cows just a little bit more room to roam. And outside the triangle pasture is the home pasture, 400 acres that is the home of the cows all winter long. They get fed here and they will calve here, keeping them close to home with enough room to get out and do their thing. Next up are a couple of hay fields and then into the heifer pasture, named mostly because that's where the heifers spend their summers. A heifer is a cow that has never had a calf before, and these heifers are hopefully pregnant, but we won't know for sure until we ultrasound them in the next couple weeks. Then it's into the one-legged windmill pasture, named after this windmill that stands and supplies water for the cows while they are in here. Cows will usually spend time in this pasture as we hay our next area, a wide open expanse, thousands of acres with very few fences and a lot of hay ground that we harvest in the early summer. After we hay it and move the hay off, this is where the cows will spend their summer. They're going to live here until October, when we bring them back to sort the cows from the calves in preparation to send the calves to auction. Then, depending how much grass is left, the cows might be moved back here, or they may just stay in the home pasture and we start winter feeding. The entire ranch continues for about 5 miles before widening out in the cows' summer pasture. I drive down here a couple times a day to check on cows or to take cows, and you wouldn't think that a 5-mile drive could be tedious, but trust me, it can. That's the ranch. Most of it anyway. And if I miss something, I'm sure we'll get to it eventually. Like I said, every day starts and stops here at the shop, and we're back. I'm sorry I didn't give you the tour earlier, but as you know, there was a ton of work to get done when we started this thing, and we got right to it. If this is your first time here, thanks for joining us, and I hope you subscribe as we take you on a journey through life in Wyoming, from ranching to gardening to our family, projects, basically how we live our life. Let us show you where your food really comes from and how hard work can truly be its own reward. If you've already subscribed, thanks for hanging in with us. Lots more work is on the way as farmers market continues. Soon we'll be bringing cows in to start preg checking and sorting and a whole lot more. As always, comment if you'd like, even if it's just to say hi. We love hearing from you. Have a great week, and thanks for joining us in Our Wyoming Life.